I'm starting off with a warning today. We're talking about state violence against Black people. So if you're Black, there's nothing I could possibly teach you about this, and it's likely to be a traumatic discussion for you. So if you need to miss this one, there's nobody who can tell you otherwise. White folks, park it. We're gonna talk. This week in Memphis, the body camera footage was released of the deadly beating of Tyree Nichols, whom Memphis police attacked unprovoked during what was supposed to be a routine traffic stop. I've read the reports on the contents of the videos, but I won't be watching them. There's no reason we should need video of a terrified Black man screaming for his mother as a mob of cops beat the life out of him to feel enraged at the system that caused it to happen. This isn't entertainment. This is a human being whose mama had to watch him suffer for 3 days in the hospital before he finally died of his injuries. We don't need video footage to know that no one should have to endure that horror. Many of us were raised with strict rules about how we could and couldn't talk about the world. We were taught that everyone was equal under the law and the police kept us all safe. Who is going to look Mr. Nichols' 4-year-old son in the eye when he gets older and tell him that lie? Let's be clear here. The next few days are going to probably see the same outpouring of pain and rage that we saw after the murder of George Floyd, and closer to home with the murders of Keith Scott and Dankers Franklin by CMPD. And I'd better not hear word one out of any of you about the methods used to express that pain. I'm going to cut in here with an excerpt of Dr. King reading his letter from Birmingham jail. I strongly encourage you, before you make any kind of comment on yet another atrocity of state violence against Black people and how Black people respond to it, that you go and look up the full text of that letter.
First, I must confess that over the past few years I have been gravely disappointed with the white moderate. I have almost reached the regrettable conclusion that the Negro's great stumbling block in his stride toward freedom is not the white citizens' counselor or the Ku Klux Klaner, but the white moderate, who is more devoted to order than to justice, who prefers a negative peace, which is the absence of tension, to a positive peace, which is the presence of justice, who constantly says, I agree with you in the goal you seek, but I cannot agree with your methods of direct action, who paternalistically believes he can set the timetable for another man's freedom, who lives by a mythical concept of time, and who constantly advises the Negro to wait for a more convenient season. Shallow understanding from people of goodwill is more frustrating than absolute misunderstanding from people of ill will. Lukewarm acceptance is much more bewildering than outright rejection.
Dr. King wrote that in 1963. And 60 years later, those words still ring true. The injustice against Black people is still ongoing, and what allows it to continue is white complacency. As long as a white person's worst fear in a traffic stop is my car insurance going to go up? And a Black person's is, will I die screaming for my mother? We cannot be, as Dr. King said, so devoted to order that we stand in the way of justice. We cannot view police violence as a few bad actors making a bad call. It does not matter that the officers who killed Mr. Nichols were also Black, because the system that killed him was built by and for white supremacy. It was built to benefit us, so we have to stand against it. We owe it to our neighbors to be conscious enough of the violence against them, to understand that no one owes us comfort in the tactics they use to defend their community. We could either get behind it or get over it. If members of our community are fighting for their lives, our response cannot be, but do it nicely. It cannot be, let's wait for the video. We have an obligation to get off our butts, stand beside them, and fight alongside them for their safety by any means they deem necessary, whether we have seen their worst nightmare unfold with our own eyes or not.